What is up, guys? Welcome back to GTA Online, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Grotti Brioso 300 Widebody, which this car is not new if you might have been wondering, but the Benny's upgrade is going to be new for this vehicle, so you guys can actually take this car into Benny's now and upgrade it, which I will have the customization of that timestamped in the video if you do want to check that out. But I have to admit, this vehicle is going to look better than it already did, and luckily the interior is going to be heavily updated as well, so I do find that to be pretty awesome for the most part. Now, from the driving I have done with the car, I'm pretty dang impressed, but do keep in mind this thing is a compact, so it's not going to be like a race car. But I have to admit the overall detail of this vehicle is pretty awesome. But let's go take an outside look of this car, then I definitely want to take this thing on a nice test drive around the city to really see how this thing actually performs. So now, taking an outside look with the Brioso, I have to admit I think they did a really good job with the detail of this vehicle. I mean, I really do love the overall look of this thing with the wide body on it. Unfortunately, from the test driving I have done, I do not think this car is going to be that much faster, but for some odd reason it does feel a little bit quicker to me. Now here's the interior view. I love how like every piece of it's actually detailed now with the Benny's upgrade. Then I have the V6 engine in the back here, which if you guys did choose to have it in the front, I do believe the back's just going to be empty, kind of like the front is, and then you'll have the big engine in the front there, which I personally think it looks a lot better in the back of the vehicle. Even though this car might not be the fastest thing out there, I still have to admit one thing: I do love the overall detail of it. I think this car would be really cool to have in like a collection or something like that because, well, it does look really awesome with that wide body kit. But nonetheless, let's go drive this thing right now because I really do want to see how it's going to perform compared to the regular one. I do have to admit the interior of this vehicle after the Benny's upgrade does look really good. I mean, I love the overall detail of this, plus I'm glad I went with the aluminum door piece on the side as well. Plus you can also see the detail of the back of the vehicle as well, so I really do think they did a great job with this car overall. Now I have to admit one thing: I really do love the detail that goes into these Benny's vehicles. I cannot wait to see what the other ones are going to be. Looking forward to upgrading those cars as well, but nonetheless, let's go drive this thing around the town a little bit. Then I also want to take the Brioso on a top speed run by the tunnel, even though this car is probably going to be a little bit slower than many of the other vehicles because it is a compact. Well, let's go drive this thing around the town right now. So I'm sure many of the cars in GTA might not be that fun to drive because, let's be honest, the sense of speed in this game can be very odd compared to many other racing games. I mean, we have supercars doing 125 miles an hour, which honestly, if the cars did do like 200 plus, I don't really know if the game could actually handle that. But luckily we have these special works cars now that could do like 160. I think having something like the Brioso in there would probably be really funny to see, but I have to admit the engine sound of this vehicle is going to be pretty awesome. Now, if you guys might have been wondering, the overall speed of this car is going to be lower because this is a compact, so don't expect this car to do like 120 plus. I have a feeling it might hit 100 if that. And luckily hitting bumps in the city is going to speed the vehicle up, and also hitting pedestrians will slow it down. Very unfortunate there. But I really do love how this vehicle looks. The funniest thing is I actually bought the regular version of this car a long time ago. I've always been a big fan of the old Fiat, so when I saw this vehicle added, I was like, you know what, I've got to get that thing. It does look really cool, plus the livery on this car looks really good as well. And now we have a wide body version of it in Benny's. Now, I would say one of the only things that are going to probably make players not get this car is going to be the price of it. Now, well, if you guys are wondering, the car is going to be $457,000 if you do buy it from the Benny's workshop, which really isn't that much. That's honestly really cheap for most of the cars in this game now, let's be honest here. Most vehicles are pushing like $2.5 million or so. And then to do the Benny's upgrade on this car is going to cost you another $580,000 or so, which is kind of a lot. Now, one of the things I did notice was when I went to go sell this vehicle, it was only selling for like $560,000 or so, so expect to lose about $500,000 if you guys do buy this vehicle and upgrade it. But luckily, I would say this car is more aiming toward like a collector type because, well, it's not going to be the fastest thing out there. Flying through the city with all the bumps, I was hitting around 100 miles an hour, but I would say the sense of speed with this vehicle is going to be pretty dang good because of the size of it. And what's kind of funny is the car does handle pretty dang well for the most part. I was kind of expecting it to be pretty terrible because, you know, it's kind of small with a wide body kit. I wasn't really expecting the car to do all that good. And, well, surprisingly, the car is doing a lot better than I really thought it was going to. Let's jump onto the highway here. Oh, that was not what I wanted to happen. So note to self, do not actually try to jump this vehicle off a mountain because it does not work. Now, funnily enough, I've been adding off-road tires to a lot of the vehicles in this game that can kind of go off-road because I find that to be really entertaining to do on GTA, you know, because you don't have any big off-road racing games yet. But luckily, Dakar Desert Rally is around the corner. But nonetheless, guys, I do want to know what you think about this car in the comments below. Do you plan on getting the Benny's upgraded version of this, or are you looking forward to one of the other vehicles releasing in like the next 10 weeks or so? It's probably like the 9 weeks now because we still have a lot of cars we have not seen yet. But flying down the highway right now, I'm doing a little over 90 miles an hour in this area, so that's probably going to be around what this car can actually get to on flat ground. And well, it doesn't feel all that fast because I'm really not passing these cars going that quick, but for the size of this vehicle, I would say this car is going to be decently fast for the most part. I honestly can't really complain all that much because I do like the look of this thing, and luckily it's not insanely slow compared to some of the other vehicles we have seen. But nonetheless, let's go over to where the tunnel is and do an actual top speed run over there. So now that we are over by the tunnel, let's do a final little speed test with the Brioso here. So I have to admit one thing, guys. I personally really like this vehicle, even though it might be a little bit slower than many of the other cars. I find it really fun to drive around, plus, well, after the Benny's upgrade, this thing does look really awesome. The only unfortunate part about it is going to be that, well, you're probably going to lose over $500,000 when you do the upgrade on this thing, because this car really doesn't sell for all that much at all, which I do think is kind of unfortunate. Now, coming up over to Grapeseed, I have to admit, this car is actually not that slow when it comes to acceleration. Bro, what in the world was that, my friend? You done? You done? Can I drive by? Please? Sure. Yeah, just, don't even stop at a stop sign on a highway, that's how we do things around here. Now, one thing I do have to admit about this vehicle is the fact that the acceleration really isn't all that bad on this car. I mean, I really am getting up to like 90 miles an hour pretty fast. Now, obviously, that's going to be like the top speed of this vehicle, which is kind of unfortunate. Sorry, Martin, I cannot talk at the moment. So I noticed this car can cruise on the highway at around 90 miles an hour pretty easily. And sometimes, depending on where I am, I can hit like 95 or so. When I was testing it out in the city, I was doing like 100 miles an hour depending on where I was, going down hills or hitting sidewalks or like little bumps in the road. Even with the speed logic in this game being kind of weird, I would still say the Brioso is still going to be a pretty dang fun compact to drive around the town. I wouldn't recommend using this vehicle for like vehicle sell missions or like using it in those type of missions or anything like that, because this thing is kind of slow. But it's also going to be a really fun car to just race around the map and have a good time. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about the Brioso with the Benny's upgrade in the comments below. And here's the customization I did to my vehicle to make it look just like this. So now moving over to the customization of the Brioso, let's jump right into this. So to upgrade this to Benny's is going to be $585,000 here, which honestly isn't as much as I really thought it was going to be because, well, some of the vehicles are obviously going to be pretty expensive. But if you guys did own this vehicle before, all the brakes and all that stuff are already going to be on this because I did already have mine, as I mentioned previously. So all you really have to do now is basically add some upgraded things to the car. I'm still planning on showing all the upgrades that you can do on the vehicle, starting off with the front bumpers here. So here's the first one, which is stock. Then it looks like you can remove the front bumper there, which looks kind of odd. Moving down to the basic. Then we have the classic. Zoom in on that a little bit. Then we have the retro. Kind of like the retro bit. That looks pretty cool. The basic there, which adds like the splitter on the bottom. Then we have the rally lights, and that's the one it does come with when you upgrade it. Then we have that one, which I'm personally digging this bumper the most so far. I'll add that one to it. Then we have the touring. That looks pretty cool. Then we have the secondary touring, so you can have that the secondary color of your vehicle. Then we have the carbon. Not really digging that all that much. Moving over to the rear bumpers now. We have the carbon diffuser. Then we have the vented. And then moving down to the last bumper you can put on the vehicle here, which I'm not really digging that one all that much. I'm probably going to leave the retro on there because I do like the rear bumper. Now let's move back over here. The engine's already maxed out, so we could do the engine block now, which is cool. We have more detail. What in the... Oh, so you do a front or a back upgrade on the back of the engine, which obviously that's where the car's engine would be. And then you can also add the V6 in the front of the car, but personally that really does not look right. Then we'll have the painted one there, the secondary valve, then the polished, then the carbon, and finally the camo on the top there. So it looks like all the upgrades would be for the front of the car if you guys wanted to do that. For me personally, I kind of want to leave the engine in the back of the vehicle there, so I'm actually going to add the 6-cylinder upgrade to it. Engine tune's already maxed out because I already own this vehicle. And then moving over to the exhaust, so for me I have the twin chrome on there currently. Then we have the rally, which looks kind of interesting. Then we have the blast pipe, which actually doesn't look all that bad on the vehicle. Then we have the chrome there if you guys wanted to see that. And then finally the twin. And then the stock's just one on there. Moving over to the fenders now. So we have the secondary arches. And we have the carbon. Carbon looks kind of cool on there. Then we have the racing ones, which I do believe that's going... What does that actually change? Okay, let's move over to the next one there. Secondary, we have the carbon. Then we have the touring arches. Kind of like that a little bit. Then the secondary. Then finally the carbon once again. So for me, guys, I'm probably just going to leave this stock because I do like that one a bit. Now, I think the racing one does look pretty awesome as well. Now, I wasn't actually noticing what that was changing, but it does actually add the skirt on the car, which I do think looks awesome. Let's add that to it. Moving over to the grille now. Gonna have the Grotti on the front. That one removes it. Then we have that one as well, which adds like the lights, I believe, down there, which you really can't see because of my bumper. We have the other grill with that one. I'm personally not a big fan with how the performance grill actually looks on this vehicle. I don't really think it looks all that great. Then moving down to the race grill. That one actually fits the car pretty nicely. But for me, guys, I'm probably going to leave the stock one on there because I like the vents, how they look with the bumper. Moving over to the headlight covers now. I don't know who would want to put that on the vehicle. And we have the red headlight glass, which looks pretty cool. We have the green, and then the blue. And then the final one here that basically changes the color of the headlight glass on the vehicle. So there's a good amount of those you can do to the car as well. Then we have the retro cover. And then we have the last one, makes the car look angry. That's pretty funny looking. Moving down to the hoods now, which is going to be the back of it. Then we will have the popped hood, which personally I do think that does look pretty cool, especially if you guys wanted to do like a car meet or something like that. You can have this popped open on it. You also have the colored vanity hoods as well, which I do think is pretty cool. So basically the glass on that's going to be colored. I'm not personally a big fan of that. And then we will have the vented hood, and then finally the drilled. Personally, guys, I'm not really digging all these hoods all that much, to be honest. I kind of like the rack on the back of the vehicle with the hood luggage. I think that is pretty cool. So for me, I'll throw that on there. Moving down to the horn now, which doesn't matter. Then we have the interior here. So here's the dash. Looks like that changes the street. Let me take an outside look at that here. Going to be changing most of it, it looks like, which is pretty cool. And we'll have the other one with the intake in the back there. Can't really see it though. I can spin this around maybe. Kind of. Then we'll have the race dash after that. Then the flocked one. And then the carbon. Personally, I kind of like the carbon one in there because it gives it like a racing feel to it, so let's add that to it. And now moving over to the door upgrades on the car here, which I have a feeling is probably going to be pretty similar to like other Benny's upgraded vehicles and all that, which it does look like that for the most part. So for me, I'll probably go with the primary color on the doors there. Secondary, then we have the aluminum, which I have to admit does look pretty cool. I'm actually going to go with that one. Then we have the carbon, which is kind of hard to see. Then we have the aluminum. And then finally the muscle one after that, which looks pretty awesome. Moving over to the seats now, going third person to check that out. We have the sports seats, then we have the painted. I believe that's going to be the back of the seat there. We have the ballistic. Kind of hard to see because my windows are tinted. Let's go in first person. Got the nice straps on there. Looks pretty good. Green. Then we have red. Then the stitching around it as well. It's actually pretty cool they did add this vehicle to Benny's. Let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments below as well, because I do think it is pretty cool. After testing it a bit, I do kind of like this thing. I personally haven't driven it all that much, but I think this car is pretty awesome for the most part. So for me, I'm probably going to go with the carbon seats in this vehicle. Then moving over to the steering wheels, we have 17 of these, which that is super zoomed in. My goodness. And then moving down the list of wheels here, for me, I'm kind of digging the Sprint Clubman. Let's add that to it, but check out the rest of them as well. Rally Basic, Rally Clubman there. That's basically all of those. Moving over to the light color. I kind of don't really want to change this all that much because I feel like it might be kind of hard to see it. So I'm going to go with the Ice White. Back out of that, let's move over to the lights now. So add the headlights to it, which you could probably change the headlight color in the Arena Workshop if you guys wanted to. Here are the liveries to the vehicle now, which I'd like to put the one on I had before. I kind of like that one a lot, which I believe is going to be the Grotti Racing there. Then we have the Race Car 1. Then we have that one. Moving over to the pole position. Wow, there's a lot of these for this vehicle. 19, wow. And all of them look really good, too. Then we have the Total Ride Motos. Kind of like that one as well. Ooh, I like the flames on that. That's pretty awesome looking. Then finally, we have the blue one. So for me, I'm going to go with the one I had on the car previously because it kind of gives me like that racing vibe to the car. Then moving down to the mirrors now. That looks kind of odd being up top like that. Man, those are tiny mirrors. Look at that. How do you even see anything out of those? And then we have the carbon racing mirrors, which do look kind of cool for the most part. And finally, the touring ones. Not really digging how those look on the car that much, but I have to admit, they don't really look all that bad either. And then the plates don't really matter. For me, I'm going to leave the car the same color I had before with the trim color and all that being like this. So I had that graphite if you guys are wondering. Then moving over to the roll cages now. So for me, I had a street half cage, which is the one that's in the back of the vehicle. Can add the full one to it if you would like to, with the pads and all that. Then we have the last one right there. Doesn't really look too bad either. And now moving over to the roof. So for me, I had the painted one on there because it does add like that little part of the livery to the top of the vehicle. But here's the stock one, which looks pretty terrible. We have the top down after that. Then we have the primary. And then we have the roof right there as well. We have the primary with top down. Then we have the carbon. Looks kind of odd. I don't really like the cloth on the top. Then we have the full carbon, which adds like the red on there, which actually looks really cool. I do like that one. Open, then we have the rack on the top with some supplies in there, which I already have a supply thing in the back of the vehicle to begin with. Then we have the hood scoop on there, the performance scoop. I don't really think you need a vent that big on top of this little car, but hey, okay, that one's kind of reminds me of like an F1 car a little bit. Pretty interesting. And then moving down, by the way, guys, if you did want to sell this vehicle, you could sell this thing for $568,000, which honestly is pretty terrible considering to buy this vehicle for Benny's was like $457,000. Then the upgrade was $585. You're definitely going to be losing some money on this vehicle if you do even buy this thing and upgrade it. So do keep that in mind. And now moving over to the sun strips that you can add to the vehicle here. So first the primary, then we have the secondary, then carbon, which actually looks pretty awesome. Then we have a retro sun visor on the top there. Actually doesn't look that bad. So it looks like a lot of the visors on the vehicle are going to have colored glass similar to the open trunk in the back, which I'm not really digging this all that much, but I guess it doesn't really look too bad. Then we have the polished one. Then we have the painted one after that. Moving over to the spoilers now, I have a feeling this is going to get ridiculous, which it already is. My goodness, look at these wings on this. Can we have like a little one somewhere? That looks kind of interesting. The track wing surprisingly probably looks the best so far. Then the painted one, and then we have okay. These wow, look at that. Like, what in the world? What kind of downforce do you actually need to have a wing that big on a car this small? Like, bruh. That actually reminds me of like the little flat track vehicles a little bit with that wing on there, kind of like that. Then we're going to have, my goodness, look at that wing. All right. Then moving over, we have the suspension. The transmission is already done as well because I already had this vehicle upgraded. So if you guys might have been wondering, taking this thing into Benny's as well is not going to upgrade the vehicle. Then we have the trunks here. Let's take a look at these. So we have the primary, then the carbon. Then we have the twin vented, which obviously the engine for me is in the back, so this really doesn't make any sense. Then we have the racing trunk, then the secondary, then carbon, then the performance trunk, and then finally the secondary and carbon once again. Then I also have the turbo already on the vehicle, and I've decided to leave the rims I already have on this car as well, which if you guys might have been wondering, by the way. The wheels I'm actually running on my vehicle are going to be in the street category, and for some odd reason I could not find the street category in Benny's workshop, which is kind of odd, but these are the rims I am running on my vehicle. That was a little odd to me that the street rims are not actually available in Benny's workshop, but luckily you guys can head back to your Maze Bank Tower. That's where I actually put those on for me. But after the rims, all you can do after that is going to be the windows, which for me, I just added the light smoke to it. I really don't like them too dark because I do like being able to see inside the car for the most part, especially after the upgrade here in Benny's workshop. The detail of this car is going to be a lot better now. But let me know what you guys think about the Brioso in the comments below, and do you think the Benny's upgrade on this vehicle is actually worth it? Thank you all so much for watching.